Hello. This is the Texas Poker Podcast. I'm Tyler. This is Clint.
What's up, y'all?
And we are back with episode 28.
Episode number 28. So, has things gotten any better since last episode?
Actually kind of made a roaring comeback last week.
Oh, very nice.
It was right, because remember I had Friday off. So, and then we're recording this after the weekend since we worked on the weekend. Well, actually, you didn't even work. I worked on the weekend.
We'll say, didn't miss it, man.
But actually had a pretty big comeback. New biggest winning session.
Oh, very nice. Man, I mean, you had some... I mean, I know you kind of went on this, like, kind of small downswing, but it seems like your, like, biggest winning session before this one wasn't even all that long ago. It was, like, what, 2 or 3 months ago?
It was in Bellagio. In the 5-10-20 game,
which is September. So yeah, it's. I mean, yeah, talk about big. You know, when you are winning big, when you're winning big. That's nice.
I mean, I don't. I mean, if there's anyone whose graph just spikes up and down, I mean, it's definitely mine, huh?
Oh yeah, yours gives me anxiety because I mean, mine kind of, you know, my what I consider a downswing is nothing compared to what you deal, and like your spikes. I mean, it's like. Yeah, it looks. I mean, if your graph was a heart patient, they'd be dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know.
Mine would be soothing.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, what leads to those nasty spikes, though, for sure, is normally I leave with 0. I mean, I'm going out on my shield. I mean, very rarely I'm leaving with any money.
That's true, yeah. Well, I mean, but you had several sessions where I mean, you were like on the ropes and just made a roaring comeback. So I mean, now, I mean, it only goes to show that at some point, you know, you're gonna bottom out at one of those.
Yeah. So okay. So let me tell you the story of this biggest winning session because it was a long session. I think it was over 7 hours. It was exactly 7 hours long. So it was that Friday that I had off, right? So I was like, I was doing something, and I was like, well, I gotta go play. Maybe I saw on the way there that the 5-5 game was running, but I had 10 people on the list.
Oh wow.
It's like, well, that's not great. So I went and played, and so I was at the 1-3 table at first, and the place was packed on a Friday night.
Okay.
And I went pretty late in the day. So I actually had to wait quite a while to get on a table, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, you're used to just walking and getting on a table usually.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of strange. So I get on at the table and I start running pretty good at the beginning. Oh, right, this was the interesting hand that I was going to tell you. I 3-bet with 6-7 suited.
Okay.
Flopped open-ended. And I was on the button when I 3-bet. And there was a flush draw. So I was like, maybe I can size up and kind of get someone to get some folds here. I had 6-7. And the flop came 4-5. With 2 hearts. So I was like, okay, any 3, any 8, I get there, right?
Right.
But here's the killer.
How multi-way was this?
Heads up.
Oh, heads up. Okay, I got you. Yeah. I love this. Where this is going then.
Sorry, not heads up. 3 ways.
Still don't mind this. Okay.
Yeah. Because I had 3 bets, so it was a pretty big bet. So
right.
So it wasn't definitely not a ton of callers. Flop open ended, like this is perfect, but the killer is that there's a flush draw. And I was like, okay, so that kind of takes away one of my 8s, which isn't great. So I was like, really what I need is an offsuit 8. Right?
Yeah.
Is what I was thinking. But here's the real twist. The person donks out. And then someone else calls it. So I made it like, I had raise over limper, so I made it like 35, and it went call.
Wow, that's kind of such a weird line to take on such a draw.
Wait.
So you had 4-5. What was the other card?
It was a high card. It might have been like a queen.
Okay.
But wait. Let me backtrack. Sorry, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. So I made it like 35, right? And 2 callers. Then they donk. One of them donks out for 20. The other one calls. What are you doing here? And there is a flush draw available.
I think normally I'm just gonna call. I mean, like, I like your idea of the bluff, the semi bluff, but once they donk into me, and it's getting just a ridiculously good price to draw, I'm probably just gonna take that price and draw with it.
I actually raised to 100.
I think this is kind of an interesting move. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I definitely don't mind this. I mean, you have all the biggest hands: aces, kings, queens. The flop is much better for you. Both your range and like your actual hand is really good. And most likely, this is a queen wanting to guard against a flush draw, I would think. So I don't mind this. I don't think it's the line I would have taken, but I don't hate it by any means.
So I was like, okay, I raised, and I got called. So I was like, oh boy.
Just one way,
One caller,
okay.
yes. The turn. Remember how we said I always seem to run good in these spots?
Yeah.
Offsuit 8.
Oh my god, man.
And but here it wasn't. It was offsuit in the sense it didn't bring in the front door flush, but it did make it so it was diamond, diamond, heart, heart.
Okay.
And I had spades. So he donks again for $20.
This is so weird. I mean, not only the donk bet, but the weird donk bet sizing. Because I wouldn't even consider this a blocker bet at this point. I mean, this is not even 10% of the pot. I don't know what kind of use for this bet there would be.
I raised it to 300.
Which, I mean, is a legitimate raise. I mean, it's the pot justifies this raise. So, I mean, because this is probably like a pot-sized bet.
Believe so.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's either there or somewhere close to it.
And here's the funny thing. He says, what did he say? That was pretty funny. He goes, am I drawing dead? I said, well, it depends what you have. I mean, I didn't want to break it down for him and be like, I mean, almost nothing's drawing dead here. I mean, other than, the lesser straight maybe, but we didn't need to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't. I'm definitely not going to flip up my cards and be like, well, you tell me.
So he ends up making the fold. That was a pretty big hand for me. And
he must have a queen there, right? I mean, because like almost nothing else could be drawing dead. I mean, all the flush draws would be live. All like a set would be live. I mean, like he had to have like king queen or something like that.
That's what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah.
But so then I was playing and I'd kind of gotten. I think I'd actually added on at one point, but right when I added on, I get pocket aces. Right when I add on. Right.
Okay.
I 3-bet, and it looks like this guy is about to 4-bet.
Oh wow.
But he doesn't. He just calls, and the flop comes Jack 3-6 with 2 hearts.
Okay, that's a pretty damn good flop for you.
I bet pretty big, like pot.
Mm-hmm.
He rips it all in.
How much more?
About 350 more.
Yeah, I think I'm just calling here.
I called and he had pocket kings.
Yeah, that's
and was good. So now my stack has grown pretty big, given, right? So, I bought in, I had that double up right when I added on and stuff. So I was running pretty good. And then a seat at the 5-5 game opens up. And I was like, oh boy, here we go, right?
right.
So I actually got on the table, right?
And you're stacked pretty well at this point, too, right? Because, I mean, you've had some pretty big winning hands.
Yes, I was stacked pretty good. I think I might have had 2,000 probably.
Okay, not bad.
Or maybe like 1,500 or something.
Okay.
Around there, right? But that's still pretty good.
Okay.
So I go and sit down. It's not 5-5, it's 5-5-10.
God almighty. These games, look at me and you constantly go on this. It seems like there's just no middle ground. Everything is 1-3, 1-2, or just 5-10-20 type crap. I mean, it seems like a 2-5 game would do so well around here. But you sit down and battle.
So first hand, I'm under the gun, right? And I get some junk hand, like whatever. So I fold. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to add on. So I added on for 1,200. Right?
Okay.
So then I go get up because I didn't want to wait for brush and come back. I'm in the $10 straddle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just add on. I look down at pocket queens.
Oh, very nice. Man, you just add on at the 1-3 table, you get pocket aces. You just add on at the 5-5-10, and you get pocket queens. Talk about great timing.
Great timing or horrible timing, one or the other.
Yeah, no kidding.
But, so I'm looking, I'm like, all right, here we go. I was like, this is going to be my hand right here.
Right.
And, so the first guy opens up to 50. Someone else calls. The third player 3-bets to 200. The next guy cold calls to 200. Then
Oh, God.
Then it folds all the way back to me. What are you doing here?
God. So 3-bets to 200. And there's a call after that. I mean, I think with these stack sizes, I mean, it's hard to say because I'm not really playing on these stack sizes a ton. I think with the call and the stack sizes, you have to re-raise.
I did. I made it 800 to go. And then get snap called. And then the next guy folds, so it's heads up.
The snap call isn't bad. I mean, what you don't want to have is a snap jam. Is like that is where like your world just starts to spin out of control, right?
Yeah. Especially since I didn't bring another bullet for this game.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I was thinking first hand, gonna go home.
Yeah.
I was like, oh boy. Okay. The flop comes 7-7-3, diamond club. And, I'm out of position, obviously, since I was in under the gun straddle.
Well, you made it 800, so it's 16 with him, and then there's another 200 from the other guy.
And then
so
the other 200 or 100 from the 250s.
So let's just say it's $2,000. I mean, you probably how much? I mean, you can't have that much more than $2,000 behind.
Yep. So I ended up betting 1,000.
Oh, I was thinking just jamming it at that point.
Yeah, that's probably the better move. But I bet 1,000 and he folds.
Okay, yeah, it's I mean, like at least it's a great flop for you. At least it wasn't Ace King on the flop or something like that after going for 800.
If it was Ace King, you'd be talking to a dude out $800. I mean,
yeah.
So, that was a pretty big hand for me.
That's a pretty big hand. That's a pretty big hand in general.
Here's another crazy big hand for you.
Okay.
I get dealt pocket eights. Where was I? I believe I was in the big blind. Oh boy. It's like, you're playing pocket eights? I'm like, throw that mic. No. I have pocket eight. And someone raises to 50 and I call and it's multi-way. And the flop comes deuce, 7.
Okay, good flop for pocket eights.
Great flop. He bets tiny. I call. Other guy folds. It's heads up, right?
Mm-hmm.
turn is an 8.
Oh, God.
Yep. So I turn top boat. He bets the same bet. I raise him to 300. He bet like 65. I made it 300.
Ooh, man. Like, before I know what happens, I think I would have bet less. I mean, I'm scared to death of betting 300 here and just watching him flitter away with like an overpair or something. But okay, go on.
So he makes the call.
Oh, good sizing now.
Yeah. The river is a 6, so it was like 6, 7, 8, deuce, deuce. Right?
Okay.
And I go to start grabbing some chips because I was going to bet like 800, 900, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Come on, man. You act like I don't have the best hand here. I'm never folding this hand." Is that so? You're never folding this hand. He must be way stronger than I thought. I mean, because he's shown some hands where like he could have 2-3.
Right.
He could have pocket 7s.
Right.
Something like that. I mean, from when he said that, I thought he had a boat, right? I mean, I thought he had some sort of boat, or, I mean, a hand he's definitely not folding.
But, I mean, like, I would think, like, that wouldn't be a boat, though. Because if someone's got a boat, they're not ever, talking you into not betting, right?
True, when you made that point later. But in the moment, that's what I thought.
Oh, okay. I got you.
And I was thinking, well, if he actually has a hand he's not folding...
Right.
So I'm all in.
And if I remember right, you were in for way more than what you thought, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I wasn't in for way. Like, I knew how much I had.
Uh-huh.
The thing is, he had added on, like, that orbit.
Right.
And I didn't realize how much he had added on for.
Oh, okay. So you thought you had him covered by quite a bit.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I got you.
And he actually was about as deep as me. So it was a gigantic overbet. Right?
Right.
Because I thought he only had like 2,000 behind.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to bet, 800, 900. But if he has a great hand he's not going to fold, I mean, he'll call 2,000.
Yeah,
right?
that's
what
true.
I was thinking. Turns out we were about 5,000 behind.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah. And he ends up finding the fold. And he had pocket queens. And I told him I bluffed him. And he lost his mind. I mean, he was so mad.
That's awesome.
And then me and some of the people at the table kind of just kept, maybe not needling, but I guess needling would be the name of it. But
yeah. Not needling.
Because he was like, "Why would you do that?" I was like, "I wanted to win. I mean, I had to." He's like, "That makes no sense that you put all your money in with nothing." And I was like, "I mean, you clearly haven't played with me that much." Because, I mean, I don't want to say I do it all the time, but I mean, I feel like it's at least once a week.
Once a week? Please. I mean, if you're saying once a session, I'm like, that's light.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That was, but I mean, like, I assume if you realize, like, what he has, like, in that, like, how much he has, you actually do a smaller bet that might get called, actually, right?
100%. He almost called the 5,000 too.
Oh, God.
He thought about it forever. He said it was 50-50 and he folded. So, I mean, he snap calls 3,000, right? But hindsight is so clear knowing his cards and everything. I mean,
I mean, that's, yeah, I don't know. That's wow. That's pretty amazing. But yeah, it too bad in that, like, because I mean, I figure like 2,000 calls for sure.
100%, yeah.
But whatever. I mean, when you win a gigantic pot, I mean, might as well take that. I mean, you're never crying about that.
Yep. And then I got pocket aces in another hand and took down another sizable one. And then I get pocket aces again.
Oh, God.
And it's that same guy. Every time he calls, I just 3-bet, so it just looked like I was doing it on purpose.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "Are you going to 3-bet me this time?" I said, "Well, it depends. If you call a bet, I'll probably just keep squeezing you, sure." but I had aces, stuff like that. He's like, every time I put money in, you 3-bet or you 4-bet. I'm like, yeah, because you incentivize me because you're dead money.
Yeah, because I look at a man who ain't got the balls to call.
Yeah, so I mean, it worked out perfect.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I can see why he'd be frustrated.
I mean, I've been in his shoes where somebody was 3-betting me and just ended up calling light because you're like, they can't have it all the time. Spoiler alert, he had it.
But okay, so I ended up making a call, and then getting called. So it's heads up with aces. He folds, right?
Okay.
I think I made it it was 175, right?
Okay.
And it's heads up. The flop comes 2, 3, 6, all low, right?
It's a pretty great flop for you.
Yes. So I was like, okay, this is probably, no, sorry, it was 2, 3, ace 2, 3, 4. So it's 2, 3, 4. So I was like, I still have the 5 to get me there, right? As the wheel.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. So I bet 300. He raises to 1,000.
Oh God. You bet 300. How much was a pot when you bet it?
So what would it be? So that guy had dead money in there. So let's just call it. Shoot, I mean, counting my $300 bet, it must have been close to like 6 or 7.
Oh, okay. So you counting your $300 bet. So it's probably you bet about pot. It sounds like.
Yeah, or just under. Yeah.
I'm a little nervous about a random 5-6 or a set here. But I mean, we're also taking in the account that the guy's frustrated and could be.
No. This is a different guy. This is a maniac at the table.
God, I'm not loving this situation. I will say that. I mean, aces should be good here, but once you get re-raised there, I mean, this is kind of rocky. So what do you do?
Snap called, and turn is a 6.
Okay.
So now any 5 makes a straight, but I mean,
the only 5s I really saw were either ace 5 or 5-6. So I mean, I'm not sure that the 6 really makes me that I mean, I guess it could be like 5-7 or something. I mean, which would make it, but I feel like most of the 5s were like 5-6 or something that were already made. So
I check it over to him, and he checks it back.
That's a great sign.
And I was like, well, I don't think 2-pair or anything would check it back there, right?
Right.
So the river brings a 7. So it's 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. No flushes.
I don't love that 7. I mean, I guess one of the weird. I mean, if you were really playing this hand weird, you could do like 6-7, like semi-bluff the gutter. But that's still weird. That's still a weird way to get there. This is such a weird hand. So what do you do?
In hindsight, this is where I think I messed up. But I let out for 1,500.
I mean, I feel like once he checks the turn, his range is kind of capped here. 2, 3, 4, and then 6, 7. So any 5 makes a straight.
All the 2-pair combinations for a maniac are there.
I don't know. I mean, the way he's played this hand is so weird. I mean, I will say you could maybe get money from an overpair to the 7s. I mean, a set does not seem like they would ever play this way. And I don't know. That's a problem, is that there's no real bluffs here that I see on the flop, but when he checks back the turn, it's kind of, I don't know. What do you end up doing?
He snap folded. It's a nice hand and snap folded. I think he was gonna put that bluff in on the river there for a gigantic amount.
I mean, I actually don't hate your bet, because I mean, a gigantic bet on the river is, I mean, it's getting kind of dicey, right?
The most dicey.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely not feeling. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, aces are still strong here, but I mean, me and you have gone over and over again how raise flops are just tend to be super strong.
But this is different. I mean, the games that we normally play, check raise flops are always nutted.
Right.
I mean, in a 5-5-10 game, people are going to be making moves.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, that is a very good point, but God Almighty, I like I say, I definitely don't mind your 1,500. I definitely don't mind seeing you bet 1,500 and watching him fold.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't think he's ever folding a better hand than aces, but he could have.
I don't think he's
I
ever. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what in God's name he could.
I think he was just pure bluffing.
Just had like literal air and just, no draws, no anything, just literal air and just going for it.
Yeah, and I think I let him off the hook, but I mean,
this is such an interesting hand because this goes so many ways. Like, if he goes hard on the turn, what do you do?
I don't know. I mean, I was just praying he didn't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That is a very interesting hand because that gets pretty dicey pretty quick.
I mean, just think if I would have checked that river and he shipped it on me. That would have been.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I say. Like, I mean, if you're 1,500, like, kind of creates a blocker bet there. I mean, would I rather, I guess, see him bet 1,500? You make the call and get the extra 1,500, yes. But, I mean, I'm not sure it's guaranteed you're calling there.
It's definitely not guaranteed I'm calling there.
I mean, like, the check turn, I feel like you probably do. Because, again, I feel like the range is kind of capped. I mean, you could 3-bet 5-6, and he could check a set maybe on the turn. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's very, very... Like I say, I don't mind you doing 1,500 watching him fold. Because, I mean, if he ends up betting, like, pot for, like, 2,000 or something...
I mean, what if he ships it for 3,500 more for me to call?
I mean, I definitely don't feel good about aces at that point.
Yeah, that would have been...
Now your aces are only a bluff catcher.
Yeah, not where you want to be.
Not for $3,000.
Yeah. So that hand was a pretty big one for me. Hit that one. Or won that one. Won the pot, right?
Yeah, that sounds like a big hand.
I mean, those three hands are kind of, the only hands of note, really. I mean, it seems like plenty, right?
I mean, it's always amazing, like, how the big sessions are... They're never, like, crazy. It's always just, like, 2 or 3 big hands, and you dodge not getting, dodge the shitty hands.
So I ended up, buying into that, not game, I guess the session for, like, 2,000 counting time. So 1,900 of chips on the table.
Okay.
And ended up cashing out for 5,872.
God almighty, man.
Right, so profit of 3,872.
That's a hell of a nice session.
Right, that's the hourly you want to keep right there.
Yeah, no kidding. That's the hour. That's the goal, to have that be the average hourly.
Yeah, so that's the new biggest session right now. So that was pretty amazing to hit. After last week talking about that downswing, I mean, it wasn't a gigantic downswing, but still losing multiple bullets on multiple sessions is not great.
No, definitely, it's still hurtful. I mean, like you say, not the worst downswing, but it's still nice to break out of it. Because it kind of just, I don't know, for downswings for me, like it's kind of like an avalanche. Like it starts off small, and you're like, okay, I can weather this, and it gets a little bit bigger, and then because one of my sayings I always hear is like the dice have no memory, which means just because I'm in a downswing doesn't mean I'm due for an upswing in any way, form, or fashion. I mean, it's the cards don't know any better.
You know how to motivate the players.
I can't even motivate myself some days. So
that was gonna be the other thing I said. Then it's like after that session, I mean, then I'm like, all right, let's get back to studying, and we got to hit this poker hard the next day.
Yeah, it's so much easier to be motivated after like a big win or in the middle of an upswing. During the downswing is probably when you definitely need to analyze your play even more, but you're so much more motivated when you're actually running well.
Right, and it's so weird if it's like poker is such. You can get as much out of it as you're willing to put in, right? So I mean, if you just don't want to go play, no one else is suffering but you. I mean, you're the one not making the money, right? So
that's true. I mean, we always talk about like going pro or whatever, and I mean, the hourly is not that far off or whatever, but I mean, it'd be so hard to manage downswings and be like putting in the hours during, it's one thing when we could just take a break whenever the hell we want, Nemi, Brad Owen or whatever. If they take breaks, they're not getting paychecks at that point.
Well, I would think the harder part is not the taking a break. It would be if you need that money and then all you have is pot equity to pay your bill.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody's like, well, you get like some bad run, like poker equity, and all that. And I'm like, well, that's weird because mortgage company, they don't seem to know what that shit is. They're not taking that as currency.
They're like, is that some new crypto?
Yeah. I'm like, can I get poker equity as crypto?
Yeah, so I mean that was a gigantic session for me. Ended up playing till like 8:30 in the morning too.
God Almighty, that'd be very nice session. Glad to hear you broke out of that.
Yeah, so I broke out of that one, and then I mean, literally last night I went and played a session, and it was one of those sessions where, I mean, I wasn't getting any cards at all. I just kind of slowly lost. And that was it. About just a horrible story of a session.
It sounds like the last 3 weeks for me. So, I mean, I definitely know how you feel on that session.
I mean, here's basically the moral of that whole session. My two big premium starting hands were pocket jacks, right? Both flops came 2 overs.
Yeah, that's about right.
Both flops, I flopped. One of them was 10 king queen. Right?
At least you're open-ended.
That's what I said, and then I was like, I think I called one. I checked, and then someone bet, and I called one street and missed. And I was like, whatever. And then the next one, I just completely had to just fold on the flop. And I mean, that's that. I mean, that was it, and I just slowly lost a buy-in and like a half, and bought time. So, I mean,
yeah, that's gonna.
Which is so weird whenever like you have a session like that and then you think that, all of it's averaging together for your hourly, but you're like, how you're still making money as you just sit there and do nothing and lose slowly.
I think that's the hardest thing to wrap your head around is like, and you want to talk about harder to talk to somebody who doesn't know poker, is explaining that you're making money when you're losing. Because
right.
You are. I mean, your hourly is your average. I mean, you can't count just the wins because if that, then your hourly's $500 an hour or something, or the losses. You literally are making money just sitting there, but it's hard to justify to yourself and hard to like explain to somebody else. Like, well, this averages it. It's easy to explain to a poker player. It's hard to explain to somebody who's not into poker though that I lost $600, but I put in 5 hours today. I really made $125 because that's literally what it's doing. If that's what your average,
right? Or yeah, exactly. So it's very strange. I mean, like you said, very strange to be like, I make money when I go play poker. That session, you go out, you come back, you lose $600. You're like, this is profitable. Go to sleep.
Yeah. Good day at work today.
And then, I mean, I had one hand that was annoying because I was in the button straddle with King Deuce suited.
Okay.
And flopped a king. And it was 3 ways. And everyone checked the flop. The turn was another king. And then I bet pretty big and both of them called.
Okay.
And then the flush draw bricks. One guy donks out for a pretty, like $85, which was pretty big into the pot.
Mm-hmm.
And the next guy calls. And I was like, clearly someone has to have a king here. And my deuce, I would have, any king higher than king 7, I would have lost to.
Oh, God, this is... I expect a king to raise, so I think only the guy who who donked out can have a king.
Yeah, they both just had a pocket pair.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mind the fold here, because it does look like that guy, I mean, you can say this, one of them definitely doesn't have a king.
For sure.
So, I mean, but it seems like the guy who donks is the only one who can have a king. So, I mean... I don't know. That's a kind of a weird... I mean, it's hard to play like... I mean, that's why it's really hard to play like King Deuce or something like that. I mean, it's... You know, you kind of end up in those weird spots.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, not many noteworthy hands, just kind of slowly lost, and that was about the only noteworthy hand, so...
Yeah. I had a session this week. Again, trying to bust out of this downswing.
How's it going?
I mean, at first I'm killing it again. I'm up like not killing it. I'm up like 250, but it's only a 1-2 game.
So I mean, that's a lot. I mean,
I've over doubled my. I'm over doubled my stack. We go to PLO. I hate PLO so much.
I mean, we were taking notes last week on how to play PLO from our podcast.
Okay, so last week I had top set, and it was not the nuts. It was 9-10. The flop is 9-5-3, and it's bet into me. I pocket 9s. There's a flush draw. Bet, pot. I mean, I've the complete stone cold nuts. I mean, I feel like if you're gonna draw, I'm gonna have to charge you to draw. One guy goes all in, and the other guy calls. It comes back around to me. I don't think it was enough to repop it, so I call. And it's now a gigantic pot, and I'm like, I'm already annoyed at this point because I'm like, the turn card is a relatively easy 10. Nobody ever has pocket 10s here. Check to me, and they're like, well, I'm not folding. I'm like, well. This is still the effective nuts right now. So, I mean, if someone's going to draw, they're going to have to pay for it. I go ahead and go all in for it's like only like another 170 or whatever.
Yeah.
For both these two people. And the guy is shouting like any big card over a 10. Well, I've got King Queen in my hand. Along with the set of 9s. So Jack also makes me the nut straight. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm saved there on that. So I'm like looking for anything that pairs the board or no spade or no big card other than a jack. River's a king. He flips over Queen Jack. And I'm like, and this is easily like in a 1-2 game, it's got to be like a $1,300 pot. And I'm like, I'm one card away from this downswing being crushed in one hand. And this motherfucker. I like the guy. He's a nice guy. I'm fucking happy for him, I guess. I don't know. But it's you just, when you constantly are like that one card away, I mean, I'm like, okay, this is it, and then bam, your dreams get crushed again. Not great, man.
Well, like you said, well, I feel like it hurts so much more when you're in the middle of the downswing, right? I mean, if you were in the middle of an upswing and someone, sucked out on you like that, it wouldn't be nearly as traumatizing.
Definitely not. No, I mean, but when you're just looking for that one hand to like break you out of it, and you're like, okay, and I mean, it's a 1-2 game. It's gonna be hard. Like if you get stacked that high.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be hard to even donk it off at that point, which I'm sure I'd make a good try at. But I mean, it's So I was like, oh, I mean, it was just soul crushing, but that was it. So I'll be back on the horse. Tonight I won't be playing any poker. Tomorrow I'll be back in the saddle, seeing what it can do. On the good thing, so one of my poker places in College Station closed down and merged
Sounds
with
bad.
the other. But on this other one, they actually got big screen TVs in there, so that was kind of nice to have a little bit nicer place to play. So that was, something. I mean, whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna win every time, so at least it's a little bit nicer.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm gonna play tonight. I'll plan on playing tomorrow. Here's something interesting for you, which I want to get your take on. So when I went to the 5-5-10 game, apparently some guy showed up, won a giant hand in a bomb pot, like $1,500 pot or $2,000 pot, right? As soon as he won, before the chips even got to him, he asked the dealer to clock him out and left. But didn't leave, went to go play 1-3 right next to him for less money, right?
Ooh, I don't think that would. I think that should not be allowed.
Wait, it gets better. Yeah. So then, at like 8 in the morning, I left at 8:30, so I was getting ready to leave. He comes back to the 5-5 game to play some more, and they were like, "You gonna like hit and run again or whatever?" And like kind of joke, because they're like, "This guy has no shame, right?"
Right.
Like he's waving to them at the 1-3 table.
Oh God.
And so they get in a gigantic PLO bomb, or not PLO, giant bomb pot, double board bomb pot. I'm like, whatever, I'm out. So I was already leaving, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy double ups again, and then is behind me cashing out.
This is kind of on the poker room. Okay, you can't really solve hit and runs. I mean, anybody can leave at any point in time, but to let them leave that table and go to another table. I mean, the first one to me, that's the biggest problem. You can't just let someone, hit that table and then go and buy in for a lesser amount. I mean, I don't think that's not something you can do, as far as I know. That to me, that's a big problem. I mean, if somebody comes in, hits one big hand, and then leaves, I mean, yeah, it's shitty, but at some token, there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, like you and I say, I mean, a lot of times that one big hand for that person is like 3-4 buy-ins. So if they're losing over the long term, they leave just so they can play longer next time.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, there's not much you can do, but to let them, get off of a table after a buy-in and then go buy in for less money at a lesser table, that to me should not be allowed. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't just take money off that table and just go to another table. That's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, what he could do in theory, if you're going to do this, which I don't recommend, but couldn't he just go to the PLO 1-3? It's a different game.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think you should be allowed to take a ton of money off the table and go to any other game and not put that money on the table. I mean, in theory, if he wants to do this, he could just go to one of the other poker rooms that are right around there. I mean, you can't stop that. But I don't know. I don't think you should be allowed to do that within the actual poker room. yeah, I mean, like I say, hit and runs will happen, but to allow that is kind of messed up to me.
Yeah, it seemed messed up, and no one seemed happy when he was leaving.
I definitely wouldn't think so, no.
And he was waving from the rat cage.
Oh, God. I will say, that's kind of funny, actually. But, I mean, the dude seems like a jackass, but it's kind of funny.
I wonder if he doesn't even know what he's doing, isn't...
He 100% knows what he's doing. If he's waving and making jokes about it, yeah, 100%. He knows exactly what he's doing. I mean, that wave is the same thing as a middle finger. I mean, same thing.
Yeah, they didn't take it great.
I wouldn't think they would.
Yeah, I mean, that was basically the highlights of that week. I mean...
But especially at a 5-5-10 table, because it's one thing, like at least at a 1-3, it's the lowest you can play. And I mean, but at a 5-5-10, you can, if you don't want to play for that amount, there's lower games to play. Just go play 1-3. If you're that scared of losing it. I don't know. Yeah, that's you see some weird crap, man.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's all I have for this week. Do you have anything, or is that it for you?
Oh, that's pretty much it. We're going to come back in next week, and we're going to have positive news report. That's all I'm going to say.
Not promising that, but...
No, definitely not promising that.
All right. This is the Texas Poker Podcast. That was episode 28. We'll talk to you next week.